Good morning, everyone, and thank you all for joining us today as we reauthorize two important programs in the subcommittee's jurisdiction. Today, we will be marking up legislation that promotes the inbound travel and tourism to the United States and legislation to help the Federal Trade Commission protect American consumers from fraud that originates overseas. Brand USA was authorized to work directly with the United States tourism and travel industry to maximize the social and economic benefit of travel. The bill we are marking up today was introduced by my friend Peter Welch and Gus Bilirakis, and I thank them both for their leadership on this important issue. I'm sure that all my colleagues here would agree that their lives have been enhanced by our own ability to travel, and we will appreciate tourism coming to our districts, as we heard last week, and experience what we each love so much about the districts that we represent. Our legislative hearing a few weeks back clearly indicated that. Brand USA has been great for Chicago, and so I'm excited to be taking the first step toward reauthorizing this important program today. I also am pleased that we are going to be reauthorizing the U.S. SAFEWEB Act. Congress amended the Federal Trade Commission Act in 2006 to bolster the FTC's ability to combat fraud that originated overseas. Doing so strengthens the FTC in 4 ways. 1, it confirms that the agency's jurisdiction extends to foreign wrongdoers that harm U.S. consumers. 2, it authorizes limited but proper collaboration with foreign law enforcement, including investigative assistance and the sharing of information. 3, it enhances the FTC's ability to receive information from foreign counterparts by allowing confidential treatment of information received. And 4, it promotes relationship building by allowing the FTC to participate in staff exchanges with our foreign counterparts. The bill would reauthorize these authorities for another 7 years. It was introduced by my friend and colleague and ranking member, Kathy Rogers, and I want to thank you for your leadership on this and your partnership on the subcommittee. I'm proud to co-sponsor both of these bills, and I'm glad that we are moving them both forward today to consider them before the full committee. I don't know if there's anyone who would like time that I would yield. Otherwise, let me. You do have one. Pardon? I do? Who raised their hand? Okay. You are recognized for the remainder of my time.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. I just wanted to briefly thank the Rep. Welsh and Bilirakis, 2 individuals that I really enjoy working with, and this is a good day in which we have come together on this very important issue. It might not seem important on a day-to-day lives of American citizens, but it's incredibly important. And I also just want to thank the Chairwoman for her amendment, which will align this up so to increase the chances of us having a smooth process through the Senate as well, which is the kind of cooperation both with Democrats and Republicans and both houses of Congress, which unfortunately doesn't get much coverage in the press these days. But I just want to say this is a great moment, not only for the legislature, for a very straightforward process for the American people. So just want to say thank you to all of you. And I yield back to Madam Chair.
Thank you. Mr. Cardenas yields back, and now I recognize our ranking member, Ms. Rogers, for 5 minutes opening statement.
Thank you, Madam. Thank you, Madam Chair, and good morning, everyone. Welcome to our Consumer Protection and Commerce Subcommittee markup. As you've heard, we're considering 2 bipartisan bills. The first one I'm leading on is H.R. 4779 to extend the U.S. SAFEWEB Act. And I want to thank my colleagues Robin Kelly, Larry Bouchon, and the chair, Schakowsky, for joining me on this legislation. H.R. 4779 extends the SAFEWEB Act through 2027 and requires the FTC to report to Congress about how they've used the act, how many cross-border complaints the Commission has received and acted upon, the identification of foreign agencies the Commission has cooperated with on enforcement actions, the litigation the Commission has brought in foreign courts, and any recommendations the Commission may have to advance its international mission. This report will be critical to our oversight duties to ensure the Commission is using the tools we provide them to protect people from spam, spyware, deceptive advertising, data security breaches, and importantly, from foreign companies violating privacy protections. It is critical that we ensure people have the information they need and the protections they deserve when it comes to online activities. Knowing who you are dealing with online is fundamental for people to have trust in the internet. As we heard at our FTC oversight hearing in May and at our legislative hearing last month, the SAFEWEB Act makes sure the Commission has the tools they need to protect people from international schemes that can ruin lives. Unlike other international jurisdictions where they focus much of their efforts on regulations, the FTC is the global leader in strong enforcement actions. The SAFEWEB Act also allows the Commission to share information and provide investigative assistance to foreign counterparts. For example, because of the SAFEWEB Act, the FTC worked directly with UK and Canadian authorities to halt a sweepstakes scam targeting seniors. The FTC also worked with Canadian authorities on COPPA case against VTech, a Hong Kong-based company, which was the Commission's first case involving internet-connected toys. The SAFEWEB Act has also been critical to securing and enforcing cross-border data arrangements such as the EU-US Privacy Shield. Cross-border data flows like this are essential to America's leadership in tech and innovation. Right now, authoritarian countries like China have protectionist data regimes and are exploiting unlimited data surveillance over their own citizens. In a global economy, these practices are dangerous, and they threaten America's future global dominance. To win the future, it is critical that we, with our allies, have enforceable agreements to safely allow cross-border data flows. This will ensure our innovators can beat China while also protecting people's privacy from scams, spyware, and other attacks. We all know the internet knows no borders. Because of that, people need to trust that they are protected from online threats that originate in foreign countries. We need to know who we are dealing with, ensure that the FTC can lead with our allies, and also to make sure people are protected. That's why the SAFEWEB Act is critical. It's empowering the FTC and the United States to be the global leader in combating fraud and privacy violations. I strongly urge all of my colleagues to support H.R. 4779 and encourage the rest of the world to follow our leadership for strong consumer protection and innovation. The second bill today is H.R. 3851, led by Mr. Welch and Mr. Bilirakis, to extend funding for the travel promotion program, Brand USA. Brand USA promotes travel to the United States and does not cost the taxpayer a dime. It helps drive international travelers beyond gateway cities and into many of our districts. America has so much to offer beyond the big-name destinations, such as one of the best wine destinations in the world, Walla Walla, Washington.
Reserving the right to
I urge my colleagues
object.
to
Pawpaw,
support
Michigan. Did I
H.R.
hear Pawpaw, Michigan?
3851 as well. And I thank you and yield back.
Did I hear some objections? No, I didn't. I didn't. You reserved. Okay. The gentlelady yields back, and now we recognize the chairman of the full committee, Mr. Pallone, for 5 minutes.
Thank you. I'm not getting into the wine battles. Today we... It's true, very true. So today,
Tomato wine.
Today, we're here to consider two bills that reauthorize important programs that protect and support American consumers and businesses. The first bill reauthorizes Brand USA, a unique public-private partnership established by the Travel Promotion Act of 2009 to promote foreign travel to the U.S. Tourism is obviously critical to our economy and our communities. As we've heard from the witnesses at our legislative hearings last month, foreign travelers to the United States spend more than their domestic counterparts, an average of $4,200 per trip on transportation, hotels, restaurants, shops, and more. And Brand USA is a proven success. It delivers a high return on investment, $28 back to the economy for every marketing dollar spent. And we have to build on this success and ensure that the United States remains a premier destination for international visitors. At our hearing, witnesses warned that travel to the U.S. has been in decline due to various factors, including a strong U.S. dollar and increasing competition from other countries in the global tourism marketplace. And, you know, the industry, of course, has dubbed this the Trump slump, in part because the president gives the impression that foreigners are not welcome here. So it's critical that Brand USA be reauthorized as soon as possible to prevent further erosion of the U.S. tourism industry. So I want to applaud Representatives Welch and Bilirakis for introducing legislation to ensure that Brand USA is funded through 2027. And then we have a second bill which would reauthorize the U.S. SAFEWEB Act of 2006 for another 7 years. The SAFEWEB Act affirms the Federal Trade Commission's authority to go after foreign actors engaged in wrongdoing affecting U.S. consumers and businesses. The law also bolsters the FTC's ability to exchange information and to provide investigative assistance to foreign law enforcement agencies. This kind of cross-border cooperation is crucial to the FTC's continued ability to bring strong enforcement actions. Now, during last month's legislative hearing, we heard from Aaron Burstein, a former FTC attorney, on how the SAFEWEB Act has helped the FTC take down not just international fraudsters and scam artists, but also companies that violate children's privacy, helping keep our families safe. We also heard about how our leadership in international cooperation has encouraged other countries like Canada to follow our lead and pass legislation modeled after the SAFEWEB Act. In a letter to the subcommittee chair and ranking member for the hearing record, all 5 commissioners of the FTC, both Democrat and Republican, urged Congress to reauthorize the SAFEWEB Act. The commissioners wrote that the authorities provided by SAFEWEB have become more important since the law was first enacted in 2006, as the digital economy has become more global and complex. And they also noted that the FTC's complaints database continues to receive a high volume of complaints against foreign businesses all over the world. So if Congress does not renew the SAFEWEB Act, it will expire next September, and this would jeopardize the FTC's ability to protect U.S. consumers and businesses from foreign wrongdoers. And we should therefore extend both of these critical programs, and I urge members' support, and thank you, Madam Chair, for having this markup today. Unless someone else wants my time, I'm going to yield back.
Thank you, Mr. Pallone. I now recognize Mr. Walden, the ranking member of the full committee, for a 5-minute opening statement.
Well, thank you, Madam Chair. And I was just looking up the Walla Walla AVA, and it's important to note that probably almost half of the Walla Walla AVA actually is in Oregon. And so I can concur with my colleague from Washington State that it's all those great Oregon grapes that, yes, we should have a taste-off sometime and see. Look, this is really good markup. Thank you, Madam Chair, for holding this. These are good bills. We're moving them forward in a bipartisan way, you know, and America's a great place to visit. And the internet, when we talk about that bill, has not only brought us more in contact through various social media platforms, but also through the tech that connects us. We now all carry smartphones or some version of them that have Wi-Fi capabilities built in. Hotels, airports, other public venues provide connectivity over Wi-Fi access points, and gone are the days of those costly overseas long-distance calls when various apps can now serve as a substitute. This great benefit also has its own drawbacks, as we all know. As we become more connected in this digital age, we also become more susceptible to malicious cyber spam, scams, and other attacks from bad actors. Fortunately, we have programs like the SAFEWEB. This law gives the Federal Trade Commission the ability to cooperate with authorities around the globe to counter these kinds of efforts that are directed at Americans. And as discussed at the legislative hearing a couple of weeks ago, that's been an important tool for the Federal Trade Commission to do its international work. And given the importance of this program, I'm happy to see this committee work to extend it on a bipartisan basis. And I appreciate the leadership of Mrs. Rogers along with Ms. Kelly in bringing it forward today and urge my colleagues to support the measure. As such a program like SAFEWEB makes our experience overseas much more enjoyable, we certainly want to make sure foreigners who come to visit the United States enjoy our country as well. Walking through an international airport, you'll be bombarded by all sorts of enticing advertising of where to visit around the globe. Tourism, clearly important venue of opportunity and source of revenue that's great importance to our communities across the country and the globe, and I can assure you other countries aren't shy about trying to compete for those tourist dollars. That's where Brand USA comes in. And thanks to this program, our nation's better able to compete with all those other semi-attractive international opportunities. At our last hearing, we had a lively debate on who had the best locations of interest, and I might be biased, well, I am, but I think the best spots to visit are in Oregon's 2nd Congressional District. Brand USA has helped Travel Oregon bring folks to experience some of our great state's wonders like Crater Lake, the deepest freshwater lake in North America, the Painted Hills and the Wallowas. Tourism brings a great source of revenue to rural communities. You can come windsurf in my district, ski in the morning, windsurf in the afternoon, and have some great local food and beverage. So come on down. I believe that kind of comedy brings us closer together both here and abroad, so I support these bills. I thank Mr. Welch, Mr. Bilirakis for their work on them, and with that, I yield back.
But not without shameless promotion. District, welcome that. Thank you. Do any other members seek recognition to make an opening statement? Seeing none, then, where am I? Let's see. That concludes then our opening statements, and pursuant to committee rules, members' written opening statements shall be made part of the record. Please submit written opening statements to the clerk's desk. Okay. So at this time, we will begin bill consideration. The chair calls up H.R. 3858, the Travel Promotion, Enhancement, and Modernization Act of 2019, and the clerk, I'm sorry? I can't hear you. Did I say the number wrong? 3851, the Travel Promotion, Enhancement, and Modernization Act of 2019, and the clerk will report the title of the bill.
H.R. 3851, a bill to extend funding for Brand USA through fiscal year 2027 and for other purposes.
Without objection, the first reading of the bill will be dispensed with. The bill is now considered as read.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I have an amendment at the desk.
Well, let me just read this line. Without objection, the bill is considered as read and open for amendment at any point.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
I recognize you, Mr. Carter.
Okay.
So you have the amendment?
The clerk will report the amendment.
Amendment in the nature of a substitute to H.R. 3851 offered by Mr. Carter and Ms. Schakowsky. Strike all after the enacting clause and insert the following. Section 1, short title.
Without objection, the reading of the amendment will be dispensed with, and Mr. Carter is recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, I'm introducing this amendment in the nature of a substitute along with you because of the program's importance not only to my district and to my state, but also to our country. This amendment expands on the language of the original bill, which I was happy to co-sponsor, and brings this text in line with the Senate's efforts to help streamline and speed this towards the finish line. The amendment mentions a number of beneficial factors, including contributing to sectors such as passenger air, restaurants, conventions, trade shows, outdoor recreation, and promoting tourism through a variety of means. It updates the accountability measures and extends funding through 2027. Finally, it sets out performance metrics to measure the program's performance and updates the authorization fees. Every single member here has reaped the benefits of Brand USA and its efforts to increase tourism and visits to the United States. Over the past 6 years, they've established more than 900 partnerships, seen the number of visitors hit 6.6 million, supported tens of thousands of jobs, and contributed to billions in economic impact. In Georgia, we've got 8 partners, including several operating in my district. For those of us who have a large tourism sector, visitors bring with them both economic and cultural benefits. It's an honor and privilege for me to serve the 1st District of Georgia and the great people that call it home. It's rich in both natural and historical beauty and draws people from around the world. Brand USA has a direct positive impact on these communities. A program like Brand USA is instrumental in not only putting large cities on the map, but also smaller communities and locations on the radar of foreign visitors. We've seen that this program works, and by improving and extending it, we can ensure the United States can remain competitive as other areas of the world compete for visitors and tourism. I'm proud to be offering this amendment with my good friend, Chair Schakowsky, and to have the opportunity to see the success of this program continue. Madam Chair, thank you, and I yield back.
I want to thank my colleague, Representative Carter, for his leadership on the amendment in the nature of a substitute for H.R. 3851. This amendment makes a number of clarifying edits to the Travel Promotion Act of 2009, which established Brand USA. It requires Brand USA to specifically report on efforts to promote tourism to rural areas of the United States. It also bolsters accountability measures and requires the private sector to increase their cash contribution for Brand USA to qualify for matching public funds. I'm very pleased to co-sponsor this amendment, and I urge my colleagues to vote yes on this amendment as well as the underlying bill. And now, are there any other members seeking recognition to speak on the amendment? I recognize Ms. Blunt Rochester to speak on the amendment.
I move to strike the last word.
So ordered.
Thank you, Madam Chair, for this recognition. Brand USA's travel promotion programs are incredibly important because even small states like Delaware have beautiful natural resources, incredible culture, and experiences, including the ability to shop tax-free. We have these experiences to share with the world. Delaware has festivals, historic sites, wonderful farms, and again, I will say some of the best ice cream in the world. And we are ready for the taste-off. Delaware is a place of endless discovery, and Brand USA is vital to ensuring international tourists can experience them when they visit America. As we discussed in our legislative hearing in October, Brand USA has a statutory mandate to promote urban and rural America equally. And while I'm encouraged that Mr. Thompson, the president and CEO of Brand USA, assured us that rural America receives great support, I do wish that we had a bit more clarity on the scope of Brand USA's programs for rural America. And that's why I'm pleased to support this amendment in the nature of a substitute offered by Mr. Carter and Ms. Schakowsky today, because it will improve transparency of Brand USA's travel promotion programs by detailing to Congress the efforts it undertakes to promote tourism to rural America. This transparency will ensure Brand USA can meet its commitment to equally promote urban and rural America. Thank you, and I yield back the balance of my time.
The gentlelady yields back. Are there any others that want to speak to this amendment? If there is no further discussion or amendments, we will proceed to a vote on the amendment in the nature of a substitute. All those in favor of the amendment in the nature of the substitute to H.R. 3851 signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed will signify by saying no. In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it. And the amendment in the nature of a substitute to H.R. 3851 is agreed to. The question now occurs on favorably forwarding H.R. 3851 as amended to the full committee. All those in favor of favorably forwarding H.R. 3851 as amended to the full committee will signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed will signify by saying no. In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it, and this legislation will be forwarded to the full committee. H.R. 3851, as amended, is favorably forwarded to the full committee. So we're on our next piece of legislation, and the chair calls up H.R. 4779, a bill to extend the Undertaking Spam, Spyware, and Fraud Enforcement with Enforcers Beyond Borders, or USA SAFEWEB Act of 2006. The clerk will report the title of the bill.
H.R. 4779, a bill to extend the Undertaking Spam, Spyware, and Fraud Enforcement with Enforcers Beyond Borders Act of 2006 and for other purposes.
Without objection, the first reading of the bill will be dispensed with. The bill is now considered as read. Without objection, the bill is considered as read and open for amendment at any point. Are there any members who seek recognition to offer an amendment? And is there anyone who would like, any member that would like to seek recognition to speak on the legislation? Mr. Gianforte is recognized for 5 minutes.
Yeah, I move to strike the last word. I'd like to thank Chairwoman Schakowsky and Ranking Member McMorris-Rogers for holding this markup on 2 great programs. I'm proud to be a co-sponsor of both bills, and I'm encouraged by what we have heard here today. I'd also like to talk briefly about the U.S. SAFEWEB Act. As too many Montanans know, scammers and cyber thieves will stop at nothing to steal sensitive personal information. In 2018, there were over 6,200 cases of fraud in Montana. In July, I held multiple fighting fraud workshops in my district. It brought together representatives of the Federal Trade Commission, the U.S. Postal Inspection Service, as well as other federal and local officials. Attendees learned more about the trends in fraud and how they could protect themselves from attack. We learned that bad actors overseas perpetuated many of these scams. This makes tracking down crooks incredibly difficult for local and federal officials. The U.S. SAFEWEB Act gives the FTC the tools and authority they need to partner with foreign governments to crack down on bad actors. The bill encourages cooperation between governments and ensures the FTC is a global leader in consumer protection. I encourage a yes vote, and with that, I yield back.
The gentleman yields back. Is there anyone else who seeks recognition to speak on this legislation? Seeing none, the question now occurs on favorably forwarding H.R. 4779 to the full committee. All those in favor of favorably forwarding H.R. 4779 to the full committee will signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed signify by saying no. In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it. And we will now H.R. 4779 is favorably forwarded to the full committee. Without objection, the staff is authorized to make technical and conforming changes to the bills consistent with the action taken by the subcommittee today. And guess what? At an early hour, the subcommittee is standing adjourned. Woohoo! Good work, everybody. Okay, thank you.
Good, makes everybody happy.
Everybody.